Why do I always end up with men who hurt me? Why do I attract the emotionally unavailable, the liars, the manipulators? If you've ever asked yourself these questions, you are not alone. But the answer isn't just bad luck. It's deeper, it's psychological. Today we'll uncover why you keep attracting the wrong man and how to finally break this cycle. The first thing to understand is that attraction is not random. You think you're choosing someone new, someone different, but in reality, you are replaying the same emotional script, just with a different face. And most of these scripts were written long ago. Let's break this down. Psychologists call this imprinting. You unconsciously seek out people who feel familiar, even if that familiarity is rooted in pain. If love in your childhood was inconsistent, conditional, or painful, your nervous system starts confusing chaos with passion and anxiety with connection. For example, your father was emotionally unavailable. Your father didn't scream, he didn't hit, but he didn't turn toward you either. And that silence carved the rules of your worth. You learned love is something you have to earn by being quiet, by being good, by making yourself useful, by never needing too much. You learned to perform, to impress, to stay small, because his love felt like a prize, handed out only when you were easy to handle or made him proud. So now, you chase men who make you prove your worth, men who withdraw, men who only show up when you shrink. And deep down a voice whispers, if I can just be perfect enough, maybe he'll stay this time. And no, you are not crazy. Your brain is chasing resolution. It's trying to win the love it never received through someone who reminds you of the one who couldn't give it. Maybe you call it chemistry. Maybe you think it's fate. But what if the people you are drawn to are just familiar versions of your original wound? Because the truth is, we don't bond based on love. We bond based on our attachment style. If you are anxiously attached, love feels like a test you are always failing. You overthink every silence. You replay every message. You live on edge, scanning for signs he's pulling away. Because in your world, love is fragile. Love is earned. And if someone takes too long to reply, your mind doesn't say, he must be busy. It screams, I'm being abandoned. And worst of all is that you feel more attracted to the ones who activate that anxiety. The ones who keep you guessing. Because your body mistakes nervous system chaos for passion. You think, if I can just get him to choose me, I'll finally feel like I'm enough. On the other side, if you are avoidantly attached, you might think you're independent, that you don't need anyone. And the distance, it's not strength, that's fear. That's a wall built by a child who learned that closeness means pain or pressure or loss of self. So when someone offers you healthy love, consistent love, you flinch. You find reasons to leave. You say they are too clingy, too available, too interested. But what you really mean is they feel safe, and that makes me panic because safety was never part of your early story. And here is the twist. Anxious and avoidant people are drawn to each other like magnets. One chases, one runs. Both are terrified, both feel unseen. And yet, they keep calling it love. But it's not love. It's the wounded child in both of you, hoping this time will be different, that this time someone will stay, that this time someone will let them breathe. This isn't about blame. This is about recognition. Because once you see the pattern, you can finally choose something different. Not because you are lonely, not because you are broken, but because you are finally ready to be loved in a way that doesn't hurt. Here is a hard truth. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you deserve. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that real love wasn't meant for you. Not the kind that stays. Not the kind that sees you fully and still chooses you. So you settle, you shrink, you rewrite your needs as too much. You call emotional neglect independence. You let yourself become a placeholder in someone else's story. Because deep down, you don't believe you are worthy of being the main character in your own. You overfunction. You overgive. You try to earn your place in someone's heart by sacrificing your own. You confuse pain with depth, distance with mystery, hot and cold with chemistry. You start to believe that real love is something you have to chase, that you have to perform for, that you have to suffer for. But the truth is, you were conditioned to betray yourself before anyone else ever did, taught to silence your gut, to smile when you wanted to scream, to prove your worth through fixing, pleasing, enduring. And now, every time you accept less than you need, you reinforce that lie that says, "This is all I get. This is what I'm worth." But it was never true. Not then, not now. You don't have to earn love by suffering. You don't have to abandon yourself to be chosen. You are not hard to love. You were just taught that love is hard. And the moment you stop negotiating your value, the moment you stop auditioning for a role you were born to play, is the moment everything begins to shift. Because the real question isn't, why do I keep attracting the wrong man? The real question is, why do I keep choosing them over myself? Sometimes it's not the man you miss, it's the idea of him, the story you wrote in your head, the maybe you held onto in your chest like a prayer. Because you weren't in love with him, you were in love with his potential. You saw glimpses, a kind word here, a vulnerable moment there, and you held onto them like gold, ignoring the silence in between, excusing the patterns, making excuses for the pain. And every time he disappointed you, you whispered to yourself, he just needs time. He's been hurt before. If I love him harder, maybe he'll finally see me. But sweetheart, you weren't in a relationship. You were in a fantasy, one that you directed, produced, and starred in alone. This is the trap. When we grow up hungry for love, we become excellent at filling in the blanks. We don't fall for people. We fall for their potential. We fall for their absence, dressed up as mystery. We fall for what we imagine they could be, instead of seeing them as they actually are. And here is the cruel part. The fantasy gives you just enough hope to stay, but never enough reality to grow. You cling to promises that were never spoken. You love a version of him he never asked to become. And when it falls apart, you blame yourself, not realizing you were never holding a real relationship. You were holding a beautiful illusion, one you built to survive that emptiness. But illusions can't love you back. Potential can't hold you at night. And maybe will never become forever if you are the only one doing the work. You don't need to be loved in theory. You need to be loved in action, in truth, in presence. You deserve a love that exists in real life, not just in your imagination. You say you want love. You say you want something real. But if you are honest, a part of you panics when it gets too close. And that's not because you're broken. It's because you've been trained to fear what you never had. You think you're just unlucky in love, but the truth is, part of you is still addicted to what's familiar, not safe. Familiar. You don't chase love, you chase patterns. You chase the heartbreak that reminds you of home. You chase the withdrawal that feels like your childhood. You chase inconsistency, not because it feels good, but because you know how to survive it. Healthy love? It feels strange, too still, too quiet. You say it's boring, but what you mean is, it doesn't activate my wounds. It doesn't make me fight to be seen. And without the fight, I don't know who I am. So you sabotage it. You ghost the kind ones. You test the ones who care. You walk away when it feels safe. Because safe doesn't feel like love. Danger does. And somewhere in you, love and fear got tangled. Now you can't tell the difference. But listen closely. It's not your fault that this is how you learn love. But it is your responsibility to unlearn it. Because if you don't, you will keep walking into burning houses, calling it warmth. You'll keep pulling away from open arms, calling it independence. You'll keep leaving the table every time someone offers you real love. Because your wounds whisper, you don't deserve this. Run. But not this time. This time, you can stay. This time, you can choose differently. This time, you can stop running from the very thing you've been craving all along. The biggest truth is, you don't have to keep living this way. You don't have to keep calling pain your home. You don't have to keep proving that you are worthy of staying. At some point, it's not about them anymore. It's not about the father who didn't look back, the man who ghosted you, the boy who only loved you in pieces. It's about you, the one still handing your heart to people who don't know how to hold it. So how do you break the pattern? You stop waiting for someone else to choose you. You choose yourself, not in theory, in practice, every single day. You say no when it hurts. You walk away when you are confused. You stop begging for clarity. You stop fighting to be seen. You stop pouring into people who only drink when they are thirsty and leave you dry when they are full. You don't heal by finding the right person. You heal by becoming the right home for yourself. You become the love that was missing, the parents you never had, the partner you've always wanted. You learn that peace is not boring, that safety is not weakness, that calm is not emptiness. It's the space where real love begins. And you stay single as long as it takes to no longer crave what once broke you. You stay alone until your loneliness becomes sacred, not something to escape, but something that teaches you how to belong to yourself. Because one day, someone will come along and love you like you always hoped they would. But by then, you won't need them to save you. You'll already be home. You've seen the pattern. You felt the ache. Now you get to choose differently, not because you are finally enough, but because you always were. If this spoke to something deep in you, you are not alone. Comment below what pattern are you ready to break. And if you are ready to stop chasing love that hurts, subscribe. Because we are building a space where healing is the new standard and self-worth is non-negotiable. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. You just need to be real.